The bandage was still on my right hand when my mother handed me the papers to sign. Through the haze of post-surgery painkillers, I remember thinking how strange it was that she seemed more concerned with insurance forms than asking if I needed water. I'm Haley, and this is the story of how my family stole everything from me, and how I took it all back. Just sign here, sweetie, Mom said, positioning the papers on the hospital tray. It's for the insurance settlement. Standard procedure. The fluorescent lights made everything too bright, too harsh. My hand throbbed beneath layers of gauze, a constant reminder of the workplace accident that had crushed 3 of my fingers and ended my career as a graphic designer. Can't it wait? I asked, my throat dry. I can barely hold the pen. The longer we wait, the longer it'll take to process everything, she insisted, that familiar guilt-inducing tone creeping into her voice. We're all here to help you through this, remember? From his corner of the room, my brother Brody nodded encouragingly. Yeah, sis. Let Mom handle the boring stuff while you focus on getting better. I trusted them. That was my first mistake. 2 weeks later, I was home, still adjusting to life with a partially disabled hand. Mom had moved in temporarily to help, bringing Brody and our cousin Nora with her. They were between places, she'd said. Family helps family. That morning, I decided to check my bank account online, planning to start repaying the medical bills. The settlement money, or $180,000, should have been there. It wasn't. I refreshed the page 3 times, my good hand shaking. The balance showed just $427.30. Mom, I called out, my voice surprisingly steady despite the panic rising in my chest. Can you come here? She appeared in my home office doorway, wearing the apron she'd brought from her house. What is it, honey? The settlement money. It's gone. She smiled. That same smile she'd worn in the hospital while handing me papers. We all went through this, Haley. You weren't the only one suffering. What do you mean, went through this? That was my settlement. For my injury. Family shares everything, she said, wiping her hands on her apron. Your accident affected all of us. We had to drop everything to take care of you. Brody lost work hours. Nora had to postpone her classes. I used up all my savings. The room started spinning. You took my money? We redistributed it. As a family. She reached for my shoulder. I jerked away. How did you even access my account? You signed a power of attorney in the hospital, remember? Henry handled everything legally. Henry, the family attorney I'd known since childhood, the one who'd visited me in the hospital right after surgery. Get out, I whispered. Don't be dramatic, Haley. We're family. Get out. She left the room, but I heard her in the kitchen, probably calling Brody. I stood up, intending to pack their bags myself if I had to, when I heard my brother's voice floating through the hallway. No, she just found out, he was saying, laughing quietly. Mom's handling it. Yeah, exactly like we planned. She's too soft to ever do anything about it. You know, Haley. I stood there, frozen, as my brother continued chuckling into his phone. The pain in my hand seemed to pulse in time with my heartbeat, but something else was growing stronger. A cold, clear anger that cut through the shock and betrayal. They thought I was soft. They thought I would just accept this. I walked back to my computer and opened a new tab. First, I needed to understand exactly what they'd done. Then, I needed to find out my legal options. Finally, I needed to make a phone call I should have made years ago. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I typed in my sister's number. Layla had cut ties with the family years ago, claiming Mom had stolen from her too. None of us had believed her. I was about to find out just how wrong we'd been. The phone rang 3 times before she picked up. Layla? It's Haley. My voice cracked slightly. I need your help. There was a long pause on the other end. When she finally spoke, her words sent ice through my veins. So they finally did it to you, too. In the kitchen, I could still hear Brody laughing. Mom was humming while doing dishes, probably planning how to spend my money. Nora's door opened and closed upstairs, in my house, paid for with my work, my sacrifice. They thought I was soft. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. They'd been moving in piece by piece, slowly taking over my home like an invasive species. Just until we find a new place, Mom had said 6 months ago, wheeling in her third suitcase. The rental market is impossible right now. I'd been fresh out of surgery then, struggling to adapt to life with a partially functioning hand. My design career was over, at least temporarily, and the loneliness of recovery made me grateful for the company. Even if that company came with Brody's video game equipment cluttering my living room and Nora's endless complaints about my Wi-Fi speed. Of course you can stay, I told them. What's family for? I sold my car to help cover expenses while I was out of work, then maxed out my credit cards, buying groceries for 4. They always promised to pay me back when things got better. Things never got better. I sat in my parked car outside the bank, gripping my phone with my good hand. The call connected after 2 rings. This is Amanda from First National. How can I help you today? Hi, I'm calling about some unusual activity on my account. A large deposit was removed without my authorization. Can you verify your identity? After jumping through the security hoops, Amanda pulled up my records. I see the withdrawal you're referring to. It was processed using a power of attorney document filed 2 weeks ago. My stomach lurched. I never signed a power of attorney. According to our records, you did. It was notarized and witnessed by Henry Summers, attorney at law. Henry, the family lawyer who'd visited me in the hospital. The memory was fuzzy through the post-surgery haze, but I remembered him standing there while Mom handed me papers. Can you tell me who accessed the account? The POA gives full access to Lorelei Foster. She transferred the funds to a joint account with... Amanda paused. I'm sorry, but I can't disclose more details without a court order. I ended the call and sat there, letting the reality sink in. They hadn't just stolen my money. They'd planned it, coordinated it, waited until I was most vulnerable. My phone buzzed with a text from Nora. Where are you? Mom's making dinner. I ignored it and dialed Layla's number instead. She answered immediately. I've been waiting for your call back, she said. Are you somewhere private? In my car. They used a power of attorney to... I know exactly what they did, Layla cut in. They did the same thing to me with my grant money. Different lawyer back then, but same setup. Mom gets you to sign something when you're vulnerable, then suddenly everything you own becomes family property. Why didn't you fight it? I tried, but I was young, had no proof, and Henry helped them cover their tracks. That's why I left. She paused. How much did they take? $180,000, my entire settlement. Layla whistled low. That's their biggest hit yet. Meet me at Carlo's coffee shop in an hour. Bring any paperwork you have. I walked into my house 30 minutes later to grab my files. Mom was in the kitchen, stirring something that smelled like her famous pasta sauce. There you are. I was worried. She smiled warmly. Dinner's almost ready. Not hungry, I managed, as heading to my office. But I made your favorite. And Brody picked up that wine you like. My favorite meal, my favorite wine, bought with my money. I grabbed my insurance documents and hospital paperwork, then headed for the door. Haley, Mom called after me. Where are you going? Out, but family dinner. I slammed the door behind me. Layla was already waiting at Carlo's, a thick notebook in front of her. She looked different from the last time I'd seen her 5 years ago. Sharper, more focused. She'd cut her hair short and traded her bohemian style for a crisp blazer. Show me everything, she said. I spread out my papers. Together, we pieced together the timeline, the accident, the surgery, the suspicious hospital visit, the missing money. Look at this, Layla said, opening her notebook. I've been tracking their patterns. Mom did this to me, to Aunt Sarah's kids, even to Dad before the divorce. It's always the same. Wait for someone to be vulnerable, swoop in to help, then drain them dry. Why didn't you warn me? Would you have believed me? She raised an eyebrow. You all thought I was crazy when I left. She was right. We'd bought Mom's story that Layla was unstable, ungrateful, paranoid. So what do I do? Layla smiled for the first time. You fight back, and I know exactly who can help. She pulled out her phone. Ever heard of Royal Salazar? He's a lawyer who specializes in family fraud cases, and he owes me a favor. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mom. Dinner's getting cold. Family needs to stick together. I turned off my phone. Family needs to stick together. That's what they'd always said. Well, they were about to learn just how sticky things could get. Royal's office wasn't what I expected. No mahogany desk or pretentious law books, just a modern space with a wall of windows and a whiteboard covered in neat handwriting. Tell me everything, he said, leaning forward in his chair. Don't leave out any details. Layla sat beside me as I recounted the story. Royal took notes, occasionally asking sharp, specific questions. When I finished, he set down his pen and looked at me directly. They were sloppy, he said. Overconfident. That works in our favor. Sloppy how? I asked. Power of attorney requires clear consent. You were on heavy medication. Any decent lawyer would have waited until you were lucid. He tapped his notebook. Plus, they moved the money too quickly. Makes it easy to trace. Layla pulled out her old notebook. Show her what they did to me, Royal. Show her the pattern. He nodded, pulling up files on his computer. Your sister's case was similar. College grant money, about $60,000. Your mother used a different attorney then, but same basic scheme. Catch someone in a vulnerable moment, get them to sign documents, drain the accounts. Why didn't you prosecute? Not enough evidence, Layla said bitterly. I was young, scared. By the time I found Royal, the trail was cold. But this time, Royal smiled, we have everything we need. Bank records, hospital documentation, witnesses, and something else they didn't count on. He turned his monitor toward me. On the screen was a grainy security video from what looked like a bank lobby. Watch, he said, pressing play. The timestamp showed 3 days after my surgery. I was still in the hospital then, heavily medicated. But there on the video was someone signing documents at a desk. Someone who definitely wasn't me. Is that Nora? Signing your name, Royal confirmed. On banking documents. That's forgery, plain and simple. My hands started shaking. I trusted her. She was like a sister to me. Family fraud is always the ugliest, Royal said quietly, but it's also the easiest to prove. People get careless when they think blood ties will protect them. He pulled out a legal pad. Here's what we're going to do. First, we document everything. Bank statements, medical records, text messages. Second, we start building the criminal case. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy. Third, we go after everyone involved. Everyone? Henry for legal malpractice. The bank for accepting forged documents. Your family for fraud. We hit them from all angles. I glanced at Layla. She nodded encouragingly. What about my house? I asked. They're still living there. We'll handle that too, but first... Royal's phone buzzed. He checked it and his eyebrows shot up. Well, this is interesting. He turned the phone toward us. It was an email from Henry, the family lawyer. Dear Ms. Foster, I have documentation showing you willingly gifted the settlement funds to your family members. Attached is a notarized affidavit with your signature. Any legal action would be ill-advised. But I never signed anything like that, I protested. Royal's smile grew wider. Exactly. They just handed us evidence of another forgery, and look at the notary's stamp. He zoomed in on the document. The notary's signature was barely legible. That's not a real notary, Layla said, leaning closer. I've seen that signature before. It's Douglas's handwriting. Mom's partner? I asked. He's involved too? They all are, Layla said grimly. It's never just one person. They work together, cover for each other. Royal started typing rapidly. This is perfect. We can add notary fraud to the charges. Plus, Henry just violated about 6 ethical guidelines by trying to intimidate you directly. My phone buzzed. A text from Brody. Where are you? Mom's worried sick. For the first time since this started, I felt something other than hurt and betrayal. Something cold and clear and powerful. What do you need me to do? I asked Royal. He looked up from his computer. Are you sure? Once we start this, there's no going back. No family dinners, no holidays together, no reconciliation. They stole from me while I was in surgery, I said, my voice steady. They took advantage when I was at my weakest. They're not my family anymore. He nodded approvingly. Then let's get to work. First step, we need to get them out of your house. I can help with that, Layla said. I know all their tricks, where they hide things, how they operate. Good, Royal said, because we're not just going to win this case. We're going to make sure they never do this to anyone else again. My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. Sweetheart, please come home. Whatever's wrong, we can work it out as a family. I turned off my phone and looked at Royal. Where do we start? He picked up his pen. We start by showing them exactly how wrong they were about you being soft. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was something sharper, harder, more determined. They wanted to play family? Fine. Let's play. I waited until they were all out one afternoon. Mom at her book club, Brody at his part-time job, Nora at her classes. With Layla's help, I started methodically clearing out their things. Check inside the books, Layla advised, pulling volumes off shelves. Mom loves hiding documents there. Sure enough, tucked inside an old copy of Pride and Prejudice, we found bank statements showing where my settlement money had gone. Different accounts, different names, all connected. They're not even trying to hide it, I muttered, photographing each page. They never thought you'd look, Layla replied. We worked quickly, boxing up their belongings, documenting everything. In Mom's room, we found more evidence, a notebook detailing their plan, complete with timeline. In Nora's desk drawer, copies of the forged documents. They really kept everything, Layla said, shaking her head. Just like last time. My phone rang. Royal. Everything's ready, he said. The eviction notices are being delivered today. They have 10 days to vacate or face legal removal. What about the utilities? All transferred back to your name only, and I've got a locksmith coming in an hour. I hung up just as Layla called from the kitchen. Haley, you need to hear this. She was standing by the landline phone, playing back messages. Douglas's voice filled the room. Lorelei, the notary stamp worked perfectly. No one questioned it. Just make sure Haley never checks the original documents, or we're all... He caught himself. Never mind. Call me back. Got it recorded? I asked. Layla held up her phone, grinning. Every word. The locksmith arrived at 2. By 3, every lock in the house was changed. By 4, the utilities were in my name only. By 5, the eviction notices were delivered to their current locations. Mom's book club, Brody's workplace, Nora's favorite coffee shop. My phone exploded. Mom, what is this? Some kind of joke? Brody, sis, you can't do this to us. Nora, I'll sue you for wrongful eviction. I ignored them all. Then came the call from Sydney, my supposed best friend. Haley, what are you doing? Her voice dripped with a fake concern. Your mom called me crying. She's worried about your mental state. Is she? Or is she worried about losing her free ride? That's not fair. They're your family. They've been taking care of you since the accident. I laughed coldly. Taking care of me? Is that what you call stealing my settlement money? They said you agreed to share it, that you signed. I never signed anything, Sydney, and you know it. A pause. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? So you didn't submit a statement about my unstable mental state to help them get power of attorney? The silence told me everything. How much did they pay you? I asked quietly. Haley, I hung up. Minutes later, Mom burst through the door, or tried to. Her key didn't work. Haley, she shouted through the door. Open up right now. I walked to the door but didn't open it. The eviction notice gives you 10 days. I suggest you use them wisely. You can't do this. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family. We didn't steal anything. You agreed. I was on morphine after surgery. You knew exactly what you were doing. Everything we did was legal. Henry made sure. Henry's being investigated for malpractice as we speak. Want to know what else is happening? The bank's forensic team is reviewing the forged documents. Douglas's fake notary stamp has been reported, and every cent you stole is being traced. Silence. Then, in a completely different tone, Sweetheart, let's talk about this. We can work something out. 10 days, Mom. After that, the police will remove you. You wouldn't dare. I opened the door just enough to look her in the eye. Try me. She stepped back, seeing something in my face that scared her. What happened to you? She whispered. You did, I said, and closed the door. My phone buzzed again. Royal sending updates. The bank had confirmed the forged signatures. Henry was being served with papers tomorrow. Douglas's real estate license was under review. Another text came through, this one from Brody. Mom's crying. I hope you're happy. I thought about the hospital, about the pain, about trusting them to take care of me, about how they planned and plotted while I was at my weakest. I'm not happy, I typed back. I'm just getting started. The house felt empty now, cleared of their things. But for the first time since the accident, I could breathe freely. The pain in my hands seemed distant, overshadowed by a different kind of strength. They thought they could break me. Instead, they made me unbreakable. 10 days. The countdown had begun. The fraud case is solid, Royal said, spreading documents across his desk. We've got the forged signatures, the fake notary stamp, the bank footage, and Douglas's voicemail confession. But there's more. I leaned forward. More? Your family's been busy. He pulled up a spreadsheet. They've done this to at least 3 other people. 2 cousins and an elderly aunt. Smaller amounts, but same pattern. All that evidence Layla collected is paying off, I said, thinking of her detailed notebooks. Exactly. The DA's office is very interested. This isn't just civil fraud anymore. We're looking at criminal charges. My phone buzzed. Another text from Brody. They're kicking me out of my apartment. Thanks a lot, sis. What happened? I asked Royal. He smiled slightly. Let's just say his employer received an anonymous tip about certain financial irregularities. Apparently he's been embezzling small amounts for months. You did that? No. Your sister did. Layla's gotten very good at following money trails. Another buzz. Mom this time. Thanksgiving is next week. Please come home. We can fix this. I showed Royal the message. They're getting desperate, he said. Henry was served yesterday. Want to see? He pulled up a video on his computer. In it, Henry stood in his office doorway, face red as he read the legal papers. You tell Haley she's making a huge mistake. He sputtered at the process server. She has no idea what she's doing. Actually, the server replied calmly, I think she knows exactly what she's doing. The video ended. Royal grinned. Henry's been temporarily disbarred pending investigation. His other clients are being notified. Good. There's something else. Royal pulled out another document. Your friend Sydney? She signed an affidavit claiming you were mentally unstable after the surgery. Said you weren't competent to manage your own affairs. My hands clenched. She what? Don't worry. We've got proof she was paid $10,000 for that statement. Wire transfer from your mother's account. I stood up and walked to the window, watching traffic below. My whole life, they told me family was everything, that we had to stick together, share everything, protect each other. They used that loyalty against you, Royal said quietly, but now you're using their greed against them. My phone buzzed again. Nora, you've ruined everything. We're family. I turned back to Royal. What's our next move? They have 3 days left to vacate your house. After that, we file the criminal complaints. But, he paused, there's something poetic about serving them at Thanksgiving dinner. What do you mean? Your mother's still hosting, right? Everyone will be there. Perfect time to serve them all at once. I thought about it. Mom's Thanksgiving dinners were legendary. The whole family gathered around her table, pretending to be perfect, hiding all their secrets. Can we do that? Legally? Absolutely? Dramatically? Even better. He leaned back. Picture it. You walk in, looking amazing. They think you're there to reconcile. Then boom, legal papers for everyone. For the first time in weeks, I laughed. That's evil. I love it. Sometimes justice needs a little theater. He started typing. I'll have everything ready. Just show up looking fabulous and let us handle the rest. My phone buzzed one more time. Layla, Mom's calling everyone about Thanksgiving. Says she's sure you'll come home and fix things. I texted back, oh, I'll be there with bells on. Royal looked up from his computer. You sure you're ready for this? It's going to get ugly. They made it ugly when they stole from me in the hospital. I straightened my shoulders. I'm done being the soft one. Good, because next week we're not just serving papers. We're serving justice with a side of karma. I picked up my bag to leave, then paused. Royal, thank you for believing me. Thank your sister. She's been building this case for years, waiting for someone else to stand up to them. He smiled. Go home, rest. Pick out something stunning to wear next week. Walking to my car, I got one final text. Mom again. I'm making your favorite pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. Please come home. Family needs to stick together. I smiled, thinking of Royal's plans, of Layla's evidence, of justice finally coming due. Don't worry, Mom, I whispered to myself. I'll be there, and I'm bringing something much sweeter than pie. The countdown to Thanksgiving had begun. 3 days until they had to leave my house. 7 days until dinner. 7 days until they learned exactly what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. 7 days until they discovered that revenge, like Mom's pumpkin pie, is best served in front of witnesses. I couldn't wait. I chose red. A sleek, crimson dress that made me look like I was going to a cocktail party rather than a family dinner. My heels clicked on the sidewalk as I approached Mom's house, carrying a pumpkin pie in my good hand. Royal and his associate waited in their car across the street, briefcases ready. Through the windows, I could see them all gathered inside. Mom in her apron, Brody slouching on the couch, Nora helping set the table. Sydney had arrived early, of course. Douglas was there too, probably practicing his fake notary signature. I checked my watch. 4:58 p.m., right on time. The door opened before I could knock. Mom stood there, beaming like nothing had happened. Sweetheart, you came. She reached for a hug. I stepped past her. Where should I put the pie? Her smile faltered slightly. On the sideboard with the other desserts. Everyone turned to stare as I walked in. Brody straightened up, suddenly looking nervous. Nora dropped a fork. Sydney went pale. Haley, Douglas said cautiously, you're looking, well, amazing what getting stolen from will do for your complexion. I set down the pie. Is Henry coming? No, couldn't make it, Mom said quickly. Probably busy with his disbarment hearing, I replied sweetly. The room went silent. Listen, Brody started, about everything that happened. Oh, we'll get to that. I checked my watch again. 5:00 p.m. exactly. In fact, we'll get to it right now. On cue, the doorbell rang. I'll get it, Mom said, but I was already moving. I opened the door to reveal Royal and his associate, both in impeccable suits. Right on time, I said. What is this? Mom demanded. Who are they? Allow me to introduce Royal Salazar, attorney at law. I smiled. And he's brought something for everyone. Royal stepped forward, opening his briefcase. Good evening. I'll be serving each of you with individual lawsuits for fraud, conspiracy, and theft. Additionally, I have criminal complaints ready to file with the DA's office. You can't do this. Nora jumped up. We're family. Oh, family? I laughed. Is that what you call forging my signature at the bank? She went white. Royal's associate started distributing papers. Mrs. Foster, you're being sued for fraud and conspiracy. Mr. Foster, fraud and embezzlement. Ms. Pearson, forgery and conspiracy. Mr. Murray, notary fraud and conspiracy. Ms. Long, he paused at Sydney, making false statements and accepting bribes. These are ridiculous charges, Douglas blustered. You have no proof. Actually, Royal said, pulling out his tablet, we have extensive proof. Would you like to hear your voicemail about the fake notary stamp again? Mom sank into a chair. Haley, please. We can work this out. Like you worked out stealing my settlement money while I was in surgery? I picked up my pie. By the way, this isn't pumpkin. It's all the evidence Layla's been collecting for years. Every bank statement, every forged document, every secret recording. Layla? Brody looked confused. She's involved? She's been tracking your schemes for years. All those other relatives you stole from? We found them too. They're all pressing charges. Sydney started crying. They paid me to lie. I'm so sorry, Haley. Save it for your deposition, Royal advised. You ungrateful little... Douglas started toward me. Royal stepped between us. I wouldn't. Assault charges would just make your situation worse. The smell of burning turkey filled the air. Mom had forgotten about the oven. Your perfect Thanksgiving is burning, I said. Just like all your lies. Please, Mom whispered. We're all you have. No, I replied. You're all I had. Past tense. Now I have something better. The truth. And enough evidence to put you all away for fraud. Royal cleared his throat. You have 24 hours to contact your attorneys. After that, we file everything with the court. You'll regret this, Nora spat. Actually, I said, I already regret not doing it sooner. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mom, you might want to check the turkey. Wouldn't want your last family dinner to be ruined. The smoke alarm started blaring as we walked out. Through the window, I could see them all frozen in place, holding their legal papers while Mom's perfect turkey turned to ash. In the car, Royal turned to me. You okay? I looked back at the house, at the chaos we'd left behind, at the family that wasn't family anymore. Actually, I said, I'm hungry. Want to grab dinner? He laughed. I know a great place. They don't serve turkey, though. Perfect, I said. I'm in the mood for something less traditional. As we drove away, my phone started buzzing with messages. I turned it off without looking. Some things, like revenge, are best enjoyed in silence. The courthouse hallway was eerily quiet when Mom approached me 3 days later. She looked smaller somehow, her designer clothes replaced by a plain black suit. Can we talk? She asked softly. I glanced at Royal, who nodded. 5 minutes until the hearing. Mom led me to a nearby bench. I want to explain how you stole from me while I was in surgery, or how you've been doing this to family members for years. You don't understand, she said, wringing her hands. We were a family. We shared everything. Shared? I laughed bitterly. I sold my car to help you, maxed out my credit cards feeding you, let you live in my house rent-free. What exactly did you share? We took care of you after the accident. No. You saw an opportunity when I was vulnerable. Big difference. She started crying. Not the manipulative tears I'd seen before, but something rawer. I never meant for it to go this far. Really? Because Layla showed me your notebook. You planned everything. The power of attorney, the forged documents, Sydney's false statement. You even calculated exactly when I'd be most medicated to get me to sign papers. I was trying to protect the family. By stealing my injury settlement? How does that protect anyone? You don't know what it's like, she whispered, always struggling, watching everyone else succeed while we barely get by. So you decided to take what wasn't yours? To steal from your own daughter? We deserved— What? I cut in sharply. What exactly did you deserve? My injury money? The money I got because my hand will never work properly again? The settlement that was supposed to help me rebuild my life? She fell silent. You know what's funny? I continued. I would have helped if you just asked, but you didn't want help. You wanted everything. Royal appeared at the end of the hallway, gesturing. Time's up, I said, standing. Please, Mom grabbed my arm. Don't do this. We can work something out. Like you worked it out with Layla, or Aunt Sarah's kids, or all the others you stole from. That was different. No, it wasn't. You just thought you'd get away with it again. The courtroom doors opened. People started filing in. Brody looking hungover, Nora in tears, Douglas trying to look dignified. Sydney sat alone, avoiding everyone's eyes. Last chance, Mom said desperately, as I dropped the charges. We're still family. I turned to face her fully. You want to know what I learned in all this? Family isn't about blood. It's about trust. And you destroyed that the moment you decided to steal from me. I'm your mother. No, I said quietly. You're just someone who gave birth to me. A real mother wouldn't do what you did. Royal called my name. It was time. Inside the courtroom, everything happened quickly. The judge reviewed the evidence. Royal presented the forged documents, the bank footage, Douglas's voicemail, Sydney's confession about being bribed. Then came the statements. You earned that settlement through pain, I told the court, holding up my damaged hand, through losing my career, my independence, my future, and they took it while I was still in bandages. Mom tried to interrupt, but the judge silenced her. The defendants showed a clear pattern of fraudulent behavior, Royal argued. Multiple victims, careful planning, deliberate exploitation of vulnerable family members. Sydney broke down on the stand, admitting everything. Nora tried to lie but crumbled under cross-examination. Brody claimed he just went along with it, but couldn't explain why his bank account showed regular deposits of my money. Finally, Mom took the stand. We were a family, she insisted. We shared everything. Did you share your savings? Royal asked. Well, no. Your retirement account? That's different. How about your jewelry collection? Did you sell that to help your daughter after her injury? She had no answer. The judge's ruling was decisive. Full restitution of my settlement money, plus damages. Criminal charges would proceed. Douglas would lose his real estate license. Sydney faced perjury charges. You're ruining this family, Mom shouted as the verdict was read. I stood up slowly, feeling everyone's eyes on me. No, I said clearly, my voice carrying through the courtroom. You did. I just brought receipts. Later, outside the courthouse, Layla found me sitting on the steps. You okay? She asked. I looked at my damaged hand, then at the courthouse doors where our family was still inside, facing the consequences of their actions. You know what? I actually am. It gets easier, she said. The guilt, the doubt, it all fades. I don't feel guilty, I realized. I feel free. She smiled. Welcome to the other side, sis. The view's much better here. We walked away together, leaving behind the echoes of Mom's tears, Brody's excuses, Nora's lies. They had chosen their path. I was choosing mine. The settlement check arrived on a Tuesday. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the numbers. The full amount plus damages, exactly as ordered by the court. My phone buzzed. Royal. Good news, he said without preamble. Douglas just surrendered his real estate license. Henry's disbarment is official, and Sydney took a plea deal. She'll testify against the others in the criminal case. How's Mom handling it? Not well. She tried to access her retirement accounts yesterday. They're frozen pending the investigation. I traced the check's edges with my finger. And Brody? Lost his job. Turns out our tip about his embezzlement opened quite a can of worms. The doorbell rang. Layla stood outside, holding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. Thought we should celebrate properly, she said, walking in. Royal called. She poured while I deposited the check via my phone app. Such a simple action to undo months of theft. Remember when Mom used to say money tears families apart? Layla asked, handing me a glass. Turns out she was the one doing the tearing. We clinked glasses just as my phone buzzed again. A text from Nora. I know you'll never forgive us, but I'm sorry, I really am. I showed it to Layla. She sent me the same thing last week, she said, right after her credit cards were canceled. Funny how remorse follows consequences. Speaking of consequences, Layla pulled out her phone, showing me a local news article. The headline read, Family Fraud Ring Exposed. Multiple victims come forward. They're calling it a ring now? 3 more relatives contacted Royal after the court case. Turns out Mom and Douglas had quite the operation going. I sipped my champagne, thinking about all the family dinners, all the talks about sharing and loyalty, all the lies. I found these while cleaning, Layla said, pulling out a stack of old photos. Thought you might want to decide what to do with them. The images showed happier times, birthdays, holidays, graduations, Mom smiling proudly, Brody giving piggyback rides, Nora braiding my hair, all fake, all part of the long con. You know what? I stood up and walked to the fireplace. Some things need to burn. One by one, we fed the photos to the flames. With each one, I felt lighter. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Royal. Sorry to interrupt the celebration, he said, but you need to see this. He handed me his tablet. On it was a video from Mom's neighborhood Facebook group. She stood in her driveway, surrounded by furniture and boxes. The bank foreclosed, Royal explained. Turns out she'd been running a mortgage scam, too. Used the same fake notary stamp. Where will she go? Layla asked. She's asking to stay with friends, Royal said. But once they see the news, I watched the video, remembering how she'd moved into my house, claiming temporary hardship. How many others had fallen for that? Any word from Dad? I asked Layla. He called yesterday, said he should have warned us years ago. He knew about the scams but thought no one would believe him. My hand twinged, phantom pain from the injury. I flexed my fingers, feeling the familiar stiffness. You know what's strange? I said. The accident nearly destroyed me, but discovering their betrayal, that made me stronger. Royal nodded. Sometimes losing everything shows you what you really have. Or who you really are, Layla added. My phone buzzed one last time. Mom again. Please. I have nowhere to go. I deleted the message without responding. What now? Layla asked. I walked to the window, looking out at my quiet street. My house, my life, my peace, all reclaimed. Now, I think I'll take that art therapy class the doctor recommended. Maybe my hand can't design anymore, but it can still create. And the family? I turned back to them. My sister who warned me, my lawyer who believed me, my new definition of loyalty. I have all the family I need right here. Royal raised his glass. To justice. To consequences, Layla added. To starting over, I finished. The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the window. Somewhere across town, Mom was facing her first night of real consequences. Brody was probably calling in favors. Nora was learning about karma. But here, in my reclaimed space, With my chosen family, none of that mattered. I picked up the last photo, a family portrait from years ago. We looked so perfect, so united. Such a beautiful lie. Into the fire it went. Some people say revenge leaves you empty. They're wrong. Sometimes it fills you with something better, strength, wisdom, peace. And sometimes, like now, it feels exactly like coming home.